Okay, so next match we have in the team battle is gonna be Sugaha taking on Yuna. Yuna is using Grand Blue, and Sugaha is not. No, wait, Iffy. Sorry. This is Yuna versus Iffy.
Well,
Holy shit.
I know that. Oh wait, huh?
Iffy is
Never mind
using
then.
Iffy's using old school Shadow Paladins actually.
Yeah,
Curious to see what the
I have
grade
an
3
idea
is.
what I have an idea what this deck is.
I'm curious, but I'm not gonna know until the next ride because he's literally just shown generic stuff that could be used for anything at this point.
Yeah, I know, but I have an idea already.
He tucked in his Peter and lost a perfect guard and a Banshee. Got a crit for it. Okay, that's what this is. Wow, I have not seen one of those in a long time.
Hello, Mordred Phantom.
Break Ride variant is really interesting, actually. Probably gonna see some fun things with this. I'm guessing that guard was to fill the drop zone because Yuna does have Legion, even though I've seen this deck has like two grade 3 base strategies.
Mm-hmm.
It has Grand Blue Break Ride strategy, which means they can break ride from the drop zone. And then it also has Legion, which is something in and of itself completely. So Legion, exactly 4 cards in there, 3 crits and a perfect guard, which is what you'd want to put back in a Legion regardless. So he has to rely on luck for his superior call, and that was not good luck. That was the opposite of good luck. Best thing he can do is get Rogue Sea Banshee and get a draw. That was probably the exact opposite of what he wants to see in there.
Mm-hmm.
This is usually why you don't Legion with Grand Blue unless you have more than 4 cards in a drop, so you have some control over what you call. Because you never know when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And now Rearguard can't hit because the triggers went to the drop zone instead of in the drive check. Seriously, that was freaking horrible. A 15k column against an 11k Vanguard. Grade 3 Search got something. I'm actually surprised that. I'm a little surprised if he didn't stride.
Mm.
Because the fact that he called the grade 1 and the grade 2 means he could have done it. He just kind of decided not to.
Why do I get the feeling there might be a dark dictator somewhere in there?
Um, I'm try. There isn't anything that fills the soul, but at the same time, you don't need to. So maybe
You really, honestly, you only ever need to do the skill one time.
if you do it right.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's a wrong way to do it, and in that case, you try to do it more than once.
Mm-hmm. That, which is unfortunate.
Sends 2 to the drop to draw 1 for Cutlass, and now he can also counterblast 1 and retire Cutlass in order to call Samurai Spirit and adjust his column.
Mm-hmm. Though he's got Ruin Shade to make that a.
Yeah, but that's at the cost of 2 from the top of deck. He's already had issues with that up to this point.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Which is why he's attacking with the Vanguard first. Gets a heal for his
Get
trouble. So he was right to do what he did. So He's likely gonna send two to his drop.
Nope. He
Nope.
wants the 19k attack to the rear.
Not a bad option, especially because he might want to get avoid break ride this turn. Which, to be honest, he really shouldn't be trying to avoid break ride this turn because he's at 1 damage. It's better to do it now than to wait when you're at high damage and he can actually kill with it.
Yeah.
Then again, he might have just wanted to prevent unflips. But even with that, I don't see this deck getting a lot of benefits from unflips yet.
Mordred. First
Critical,
Lancer.
and the first one was critical.
Mm-hmm.
The critical trigger instantly made that perfect guard worthwhile. That and the fact that he would have gotten a free sword breaker from the deck
Yeah.
because Shadow Paladins are totally balanced. These cards are perfectly balanced. I kind of think he should have used that unit to Legion rather than Stride. Get some of those triggers back in deck. Not to mention he
Mm-hmm.
would have been able to get Pennant Black, Pennant Blanc from the drop zone to the field. That's Night Snow. And one thing that's funny about Grand Blue is that every time a new mechanic comes out, they get a really big benefit from it, but it's not really enough to make them a really good clan, well, a really highly used clan, because the deck in general is just so technical. Not
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of people know how to use this stuff. But I mean, they got Break Ride, and with it, they have the ability to break ride from the drop zone, meaning you can ride the break ride and immediately do a break ride. They got a limit remover, which makes that faster, and then they got Legion, which not only benefits from the drop zone, which not only benefits from you putting stuff in the drop zone, which Grand Blue do anyway, but it puts things back into the drop zone, so it lets you maintenance your trigger mills.
I just noticed that Una's using 12 crit.
It's almost okay in Grand Blue because they get advantage other ways, but I don't know. I feel like some of
I
those
just don't
crits could
like.
be.
I
I
just
feel like
don't like.
I know what you're saying. I'm actually saying I feel like some of those crits could be stands.
Like 8 crits, 4 heal, 4 stand, something like that.
I mean, it could be, but at the same time, you have to admit, out of all the clans in the game, Grand Blue is that one that just doesn't have aggression.
I mean, I guess.
So I would say, and it's not easy for me to say this, but I will say it. It's almost justified for this clan to do that compared to others. I would say out of all the clans in Vanguard, this is the one where I would say 12 crit is not completely scumbag.
I mean, depends because now they have Legion.
The fuck? Oh, okay. That makes sense. But no, even with Legion, they still don't they have the ability to keep putting the crits back, but they don't have like any insane strategies that make unblockable columns like other clans
Hang on,
do.
that was weird.
Everything all right?
Yeah, that was just really weird.
Uh, but yeah, like I was saying, I mean, if we compare other clans that do 12 critical, um, Kagero restand for days, Shadow Paladins restand for days, Gold Paladins maintenance your guard, meaning you can't use perfect guards in certain instances. Not to mention the amount of power that their rears gain. Um, Dimension Police and Regalia are the same except they're Vanguard based, meaning the Vanguard is going to be extremely high and they maintenance your guard. Like almost every clan you can think of has some reason why they shouldn't be running 12 crit, but Grand Blue really doesn't have anything like that.
I mean, I guess. Did Uno shuffle? Yep.
He shuffled.
Yeah, I made sure.
I
Hey,
was
look at
wonder
Maka. I haven't seen that card in ages.
I was wondering why he attacked with Vanguard first, considering that unit's skill, but he doesn't have a counterblast activated anyway.
Yeah.
I can't help but wonder why he has Deadly Nightmare and Samurai Spirit.
There's no telling.
I mean, it's good for maintaining the field, turning your 6Ks into 7Ks, but usually you'd want one or the other.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we have Break Ride, and Break Ride skill brings out the Fighting Spirit, and the Fighting Spirit gains 5K, so that's a 23K column.
Mm-hmm.
Starts by attacking with the weaker column. I actually would have done the exact opposite of what just happened, because then he could have.
Force of damage.
Well, it's more like, well, it's force of damage, but he also could have gotten an unflip out of it depending on his triggers.
Very true. There's a crit. And a Maka. Well, the deck is very, very counterblast heavy.
But yeah, I'm looking at it and I think it's a little too counterblast heavy.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's only got one unflip option,
which is Curse Lancer, and he
which
just
is
and he just
good.
retired it,
Yeah.
and Skullwitch Nemain is there, which isn't bad, but it's another counterblast.
Mm-hmm.
This deck doesn't have a lot of those to spare.
No, not really. By the way, I highly doubt if he runs Legion.
No, he doesn't, as far as I can tell. Like just by looking at
What's happening? I'm scared.
that was in the drop zone, so Break Ride.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
look at that.
Yep. Just like I said, you can ride and immediately Break Ride from the drop zone.
Well, this is actually, I believe. Well, wow, that makes two clans that can superior break ride. Wait, technically three.
What's the third?
Gold Paladin
Pelennor.
and Narukami. Because you're riding.
Narukami, yeah, because Steve. I
Yeah,
I mean Sweep Command. I I got used to calling him Steve because they used to call him like Steve Command Dragon, which is wrong.
yeah,
Steve is not a word, I think.
yeah. It is.
What does it mean?
I don't actually remember what it means, but I've seen it somewhere before.
Okay, I wanna know what that means after this is over. I'm not gonna look in between because I know it's
I
gonna fuck up my
wait.
computer memory.
I I think a sieve is what people take to gold. You know what gold panning is, right?
Yeah.
I think I think sieves are that.
You mean that mesh-like thing that they use to separate the water from the rocks and dirt so
Yeah,
that they can see what is actually gold and what is valuable?
yeah.
It might be. It actually, now that you mention it, that term sounds familiar, so that's probably what it is.
Mabinogi from when we had to sift through the dirt.
Exactly. That's why
Yeah,
that's why
sieve,
we know that term.
sieve. Because I spent hours on that damn beach. God, I hated that so much.
That was horrible. It got really bad when they actually there was one point in Mabinogi where I don't know if you were there for the star event?
I was.
Yeah, that was like the other reason to go onto the beach because they all showed up there.
Yeah. Yeah. I hated it. I hated it. Well, if he's gonna deck himself out.
Yeah, because he doesn't have Legion. Like if he
Yeah.
had Legion, we'd see a sign of it by now, either the Legion or a mate, and we haven't seen either. So safe to say he doesn't have
Suddenly
Legion.
suddenly Cormac.
Yeah, from out of nowhere, Cormac. Or better yet, random ass Fiona for no reason.
That'd be funny. This will be the second time Una's Legion.
Third,
Third.
because he went into Noir, then he went into Necro Bolt, and
Then Superior Break Ride.
and now another Necro Bolt. And look what he is putting back.
Oh, crits. Oh, nope. Heal,
Mostly
crit.
heals, actually. I would put back a mate
I would too, just in case.
just because I don't trust it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's got one in damage.
Yay, damage.
Okay, the one that was in the soul got taken out for the sake of his skill, so he only has two out of deck, I think, unless he has one in hand. So he decides to put back all triggers knowing that. Yeah, he even said he should have one left, so he has one in hand. Luckily for Iffy, he doesn't use. Oh wow! And Iffy thinks he still has two draw triggers in his deck.
Bruh.
And Night Snow goes back into the drop zone. So if he gets another break ride, then we can see that again.
Yeah.
Actually, how does this work? Oh, it's Counter Blast 2, Soul Blast 2. Never mind. So puts everything onto the break ride. I'm guessing that's because the rear is going to attack the rear. Oh no, he's just going to go for it. I just realized that's a 10k Vanguard.
Mm-hmm.
It's so rare for me to see that it catches me off guard every time.
Duh.
Now, this is the point of desperation. I'm sorry, but when you call a heal trigger in the front row, that means you're desperate.
Well, he's got at least 5 crits left in deck.
Not to mention that if he
Four,
thinks,
excuse me. I just saw another crit.
not to
There's four,
mention if he believes that he has two
two
draws left in his
draws.
deck, meaning if he's really unlucky, he can be left with two cards left in deck here, and if he doesn't win, he's done.
Well,
So that's a two to hit.
draw.
Draw trigger. He better hope he draws his draw. Well, even then, that draw trigger just sealed the deal because he can't attack with Vanguard next turn. So unless he ends it right here, which he couldn't because that happened, and now all it takes is an intercept to block. Unit just won this match. Unless he somehow can't guard both those rears.
I don't see that happening.
I don't see that being possible. Literally, all Yuna has to, Yuna's literally doing too much. All he has to do is call one rear guard. All he has to do is attack with the Vanguard and end his turn. Attack with the Vanguard so he gets Twin Drive and then just end his turn. That's all he needs. But if you want to end with the 6 damage, then do what you can do to end with the 6 damage. He's actually gonna do Necrobolt's ability for once, because finally has the counterblast. So counterblast one, retire one, and call one from the drop. So from here, it's a matter of what he decides to call from the drop. You could call a Sea Strolling Banshee just because,
Mm.
but he doesn't have soul anyway. Chooses Night Ghoul, so if that hits, then his opponent would have to retire something. But since his opponent's at 5 damage, it doesn't matter. I do like the fact that Undead Dragon Ghoul Dragon isn't Legion locked
Yeah.
like some mates are.
Ooh. Knee. Why?
So Yuna got a Quintet wall in his check. He doesn't need to use it. He should have 20k worth of shield in his hand.
Well, he doesn't even have Counterblast
Counterblast.
2.
If he somehow unflipped the damage, he's still. So in the turn, yeah, it's literally impossible for Iffy to win now because he can't Twin Drive, which means he can't get hand from Twin Drive, which means he can't guard.
I would have honestly, if I was Iffy, gone out on my own terms.
He absolutely could have.
And that's just a heal. That's a crit.
I think his deck is nothing but triggers now. The draw was on the bottom.
Yep.
So good game. I gotta say though that this deck draws more than it needs to. Also, you need to look at the counterblast situation and see if there's anything you can do about that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if there is, but if there is something, then you need to look into it because this deck uses a lot of counterblast. I almost want to say Maka should be switched for something that doesn't use counterblast if that's a possibility.
Mm-hmm. Legion should also be a part of the deck, but
Well, with how much it draws, yes. Anyway, on to the next one.